Hi, I'm Meredith Plummer, and welcome to my Storytime studio.
It all began with a mistake, or so it seemed. Granny got up and out of bed at midnight, thinking it was morning. She was going to Crowcombe Market, where she sold her wares every week. She had a bit to eat and a sip to drink, and offered the same to Smart, her old gray pony. He'd been her faithful companion for close to 40 years. She saddled up Smart and attached a pannier to the side. It was a special sort of basket that she loaded up with the breads, jams, eggs, and such that she hoped to sell. She carefully placed her needles and yarn at its very top, so that she could continue knitting her stocking along the journey. Granny mounted and clicked for Smart to set off. He knew the way well, even in the pitch black of night, and he plodded along in his usual slow manner. Before long, the pony's rhythmic sway sent Granny drifting back to sleep. She didn't know how long she'd slept, nor where they were when Smart stopped. He stood stock still, except that he was trembling all over. She could feel that his mane and tail were stiff with fright. And then she heard it herself, a gallop of horse hoofs coming closer and closer. There was something ominous about the sound. She knew it was no ordinary horse and rider. Then, all of a sudden, a hare jumped out of nowhere, right behind her. It was shivering with fright. Granny dismounted her horse, took off her basket, and lifted its lid. She pushed the hare inside the basket and replaced the lid. Her heart was pounding. Her palms were sweating. Then she noticed that Smart was looking down, absorbed in the grass. Seeing his focus, it reminded her that she must stay calm. She reached back into her basket to pull out her needles, and then sat down on a rock and carefully closed the lid to hide the hare. Clickety-click, she began to knit. Clickety-click, she continued to knit. Clickety-click. All at once the rider was beside her. In a shadow so dark she could barely see him on his horse. Without so much as a hello, he demanded, "Have you seen a hare run past?" Clickety-click. Granny didn't look up from her knitting. Clickety-click. She didn't utter a word. Clickety-click. But there was no mistaking the shake of her head that she was saying no. And if you think she was lying, she wasn't. The rabbit had not gone past her. It was still in her basket. But the rider didn't know that. He dug his heels into his horse and galloped away. Smart, who had done nothing but amble slowly for the last 20 years, suddenly jumped up and ran in circles. Such a relief to have that man gone. A moment or two later, Granny saw a rustle in the basket. She looked down and to her great surprise saw a young woman climb out of it. "Thank you, repeated the young woman over and again. Granny patted Smart on his back as she shrugged her shoulders humbly. "We just carried on. That's all we did." "And you saved me." The young woman's smile lit up like sunshine. Then she explained, "I was bewitched and transformed into a hare that was destined to be hunted forever unless I could get behind my pursuers. When you hid me, you saved me. I can never thank you enough." Granny shrugged her shoulders again. The young woman kissed Granny on her cheek. Then she was gone. Granny watched a while as best as she could in the dark. Then she mounted Smart once again and set off, plodding all the way to Crowcombe. When they got there, the clock tower told her it was 3 in the morning. 3 in the morning? Granny wondered how that could have be. Did she make a mistake? She smiled, and she thought of the young woman set free. No, this was no mistake. Who'd have known that a horse and a pair of knitting needles could help someone to be so courageous? Then again, some say that the key to finding courage is to relax and to trust our hearts to guide us, even when we don't think we know what to do. In our story today, when the young woman jumped out of the basket and thanked Granny, Granny did nothing but shrug her shoulders and say, "We carried on. That's all we did." During this difficult time, who do you know who has saved others by simply carrying on? Share your thanks with them sometime this week.